Hello, thanks for coming. This is a lovely idea, and these kids are fantastic. I do have a 12-year-old son myself and a 14-year-old daughter. The 14-year-old daughter is very verbose. The 12-year-old son speaks once or twice a year. So I'm very proud of you if you can give us your worldview. So look, I'm going to start with you because unfortunately for you, you're sitting beside me. And you've been given a list of questions by Gavin and Carol, and they're quite serious questions. What is the role you see for yourself in the future as you participate in community and national decision-making? How can the education system help you learn about politics and becoming engaged in community and national decision-making? And how do you see the media's role in helping become informed and motivated citizens? So, no, shit, we don't. So we're effectively asking you to provide a PhD thesis. But I thought, Luke, what I'd start by asking you is, do you feel optimistic and positive about the year 2030, which is 15 years from now? And you will be, how old are you now, 10? Or
10, 11.
Yeah, you're a nice boy, Luke. So you'll be 25, 26, right? Do you feel positive or optimistic about it?
Kind of. You know, I've seen the movie WALL-E, and, I've imagined, in 2030, the world will kind of be like how you see at the start of the movie, like everything rubbish, it's abandoned. But then I also think if we can, change our path on where we're going, take a different route, our world could still be better.
I'm going to come across Mia because that was a lovely answer. Thank you so much. Mia, I'm going to come across and just sit down below you. You were talking about rubbish, weren't you, when we were sitting outside? And you were talking... So is this a real concern of yours?
Yeah. I think that if we don't look after the world and we keep on going on how we are now, there won't be much trees, and I think that there'll be rubbish everywhere, and it'll sort of be like a dump, and it's not really a good condition for us to be in.
This is something that worries you a lot. Ken, you want to be a wildlife photographer when you grow up, right? And the question is, will there be any wildlife left to photograph? Think about this stuff. Is this something that worries you, or am I just putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, definitely, because there are so many, species that are becoming endangered. If we continue to hunt them or poach them, more species would become endangered until we have none left.
So it's about us starting to get it right now, isn't it? Louis, Auckland Normal Intermediate, right? What do you see the world being like in 2030?
At the moment, it looks more like the world as a desert, but if we sort of stop cutting down trees, yada, 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 it could look better than it is now.
Okay, so this is an emerging theme. Isha, I'm going to come across. Do you see it? Do you see it in the same way? Are you worried about what sort of condition we're leaving the world in for you, or have you got other concerns?
The ozone layer protects us, so we might be in sun suits if we don't stop burning fossil fuels and make the ozone layer disappear. So that's a big concern for me.
Do you think about this stuff a lot?
Yeah.
When we were growing up, I'm 51, and when I was growing up, there was a thing called the Cold War, right? And that was the Soviet Union and the Western world, particularly America, had armed themselves to the teeth with nuclear weapons. And when I was your age, we all worried that there was a thing called mutually self-assured destruction, that they were going to blow each other up and kill everyone in the world. It was terrible. It was terrible stuff to worry about. And I do get the sense, actually, that climate change and global warming and the consequences of it are the equivalent, I think, for this generation. And what worries me, Luke, is that there doesn't seem to be the political will to address it in a meaningful way. Do you have hope that politicians are going to do something about this? What do you think will be the response to it? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I do have some hope that a natural environmental group will bring this to the attention of the president, the prime minister, and maybe they'll be able to hand it off to somebody else, and then they might bring it to the United Nations, and it will be a worldwide issue, and we can stop it.
Do you get grumpy with our age group for having kind of left the world, made the world like this, and continue to burn fossil fuels as if they were infinite and did no damage? Are you annoyed with us, or are you just philosophical about the fact that that's the way it is?
I'm a bit annoyed, because and I'm also a bit philosophical about it too.
Annoyed and philosophical. What a fine and rounded young man. Isha, what would you like to see happen? Have you thought about this? These are big questions. How old are you, Isha?
I'm 10.
10. I'm 51. And these are big questions, and there's a whole lot of grown-ups who don't have the answer to these questions. So you're not required to have the answer. But is there something that you would like to see happen? Is there an organisation you would like to see address this? Would you like to see the media do more stories about it? Politicians get angrier and more determined to combat it? Do you think about these things? Do you have a sense of what the answer might be?
A bit, yes.
Hit me with it.
Pardon?
Tell me what you reckon should happen.
I think we should make different ways of having energy and electricity, like the wind and water, and not much fossil fuels, and take more care of the environment.
That's a fantastic answer. So renewable fuels that don't pollute.
Yes.
Okay, what do you reckon, young Louis?
I reckon someone needs to step up and say, we have a problem, we need to fix it. And if someone does step up, then other people will step up, and eventually it will be a unified world, essentially.
Oh, I hope you're right. Goodness, I hope you're right. Mia, you speak fluent Māori, don't you?
Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself in Māori?
Mia.
I'm very proud of you. So you went to the Kura Kaupapa at Newton, right?
Yeah.
It's a great school, isn't it? And did you go there as well?
Yeah.
How do you feel we need to respond, our age group, the people who are leading the world now, to protect the world and make it not like that kind of rubbish-strewn environment that you were talking about?
I think that if someone tells the government, then I think that they should have some sort of day where everyone cleans up, and they should have a day where you're not allowed to drive cars, you can only use public transport.
So this is a kind of really direct response that we can all participate in.
Yeah.
It's a bloody good idea. Wouldn't Auckland be fantastic if no one drove cars for a day? It'd be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Kenya, do you watch TV? Do you watch the television news?
Not really.
Why not?
'Cause, I guess it's kind of scary to see things happening.
So can you remember the last time you watched it and felt scared by something? Can you remember what that was?
I didn't watch it. I just kind of avoid those things.
Just because you find it slightly depressing. Are you aware of the situation in Syria and all the refugees trying to get into Europe?
Yeah.
And do you guys find that scary? We don't want to be negative, though, do we? Because I want to allow for a sense of optimism and hope, because, Luke, you feel a mixture, don't you? You all feel like we can still get it right, do you? We haven't completely ruined things. Okay. What do you want to be when you... Do you know?
Still got no.
No. And do you watch the television news?
Sometimes.
And what do you think of it when you watch it?
I think it's all depressing.
Mia, do you feel the same way?
Yeah.
Is that because the world's depressing, or is that because the media only focus on depressing things?
Yeah, the media sort of turns happy things into so that they make it negative. For example, someone will say Māori education rates are going up, and then the media will go, yeah, but they do crimes and stuff. When everyone does that, every race.
It's funny, isn't it? When you're Māori, people generalise about you all the time, don't they? I mean, no one ever sort of does broad brushstroke nonsense about Pākehā. No one ever says, all Pākehā do this or all Pākehā do that. But when you're Māori, you have to put up with that kind of crap, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should stop doing it. Do you watch the news, TV news?
Sometimes.
And what do you think of it when you watch it?
I agree with the others that it's kind of scary because there's like really bad stuff happening often.
And does that make you feel hopeless or helpless? Or how does it make you feel? Does it just make you not want to see it and expose yourself to it?
Yes, I don't really like it that much.
No, young Luke, do you watch it?
Sometimes, because like I sometimes watch TV after school, and also sometimes in like the evening. And when I'm like watching my program, I sometimes change it to 3 News, you know. And I do find some of the news depressing, but I'm also interested by it, and I want to know what's going on in the world.
And what do you think of what's going on in the world? What do you think of the Syrian crisis, for example, the refugee crisis there? So we have a civil war in Syria, and basically everyone who can leave is getting out at enormous risk. And then they're arriving in Europe with nowhere to go. Is that something you're aware of and have registered and have feelings about?
Yes. Yeah, and like, it's like I'm not really sure how to like explain it, you know, because like I know it's happening, but it seems like really far away from me, and so like I feel affected, but I also don't at the same time. So yeah.
I think that's nicely put. And that's the problem, isn't it? How do we tell stories that don't leave you feeling completely hopeless and helpless and lost? How do we make these stories seem real and relevant to you and connect with you and engage with you and make you understand that, you know, these are kids just like you. You absolutely understand that, of course. And how do we not terrify you and make you spend your entire lives in bed with the covers over your head, right? Isha, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm not sure, but maybe a politician or a scientist.
Oh, I hope you become a politician or a scientist. You can become both. Ideally, it would be lovely to have a scientist in politics. What sort of science are you interested in?
I don't know all the science. I have science classes at school. So far we're working on electricity, and we've done the potato clock and things.
And that's fun, that potato clock, isn't it?
Yes, it's very fun.
And so this has made you think about what you were talking about before, that's renewable resources, renewable energy, and not using pollutants to power our world.
Yes.
Who was talking about Wally before? That was you, Luke, wasn't it? It's funny, you know, dystopian futures. Dystopian is a word that no one ever used until Hunger Games came along. Now everyone uses it, right? And do you worry about a kind of dystopian future, you know, where everything is just bad and dark, evil and hopeless? Is that something you worry about, or is Hunger Games way beyond your kind of level of what you think the world's going to be like?
I don't really think about it much, but I think the world will be destroyed if we don't do something.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, right, now that we've all warmed up, shall I ask you some of these questions, okay? Shall I ask you some of the serious questions? Have you had these questions? You've been working on them and thinking about them? That was a good prompt, young Kenya. What is the role you see for yourselves in the future? Kenya, what do you see? I'm going to give you the microphone.
Well, when I grow up, I do photography at my house, and so when I grow up, I see myself as a wildlife photographer, photographing endangered species to promote awareness that they are becoming endangered and to convince people to actually do something about it instead of just letting it happen.
Yeah, it's very powerful, isn't it? If you see a beautiful creature in the wild and you understand there's only 300 of them left or whatever, or their environment is being clear-felled, all the trees have been cut down, then we're going to think much more about that stuff, aren't we? Well, I hope that happens. I look forward to seeing your photographs, Kenya. I reckon you'll be fantastic at it. Don't get too close to the lions and tigers, would you? Mia, have you thought about these questions? So this big question that I just read out, your role in the future as you participate in the community and national decision-making?
Yeah, I think that we sort of need to take care of all the poor and homeless people instead of just the rich people, because they sort of don't have a voice or opinion, and it's not really their fault that they don't have a house.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to feel that people have a voice. What do you think the best way of having a voice is for people like that?
I think that the government sort of needs to give more money to the intercity mission because they do a really great job, but they have to fundraise for their own money. And so I think that if the government gives more money to the intercity mission, that will sort of make a first step to solving homeless people, you know.
And giving them a quality of life. I've just started working very near the city mission, and it's scary how many people use it, how many people come and go. It's really sad. Louis, should I read the question out to you, or do you know what it is? Okay, I'm going to read it out. Shall I read it out? What is the role you see for yourself in the future as you participate in community and national decision making? Now, obviously, you don't know what you're doing yet, but do you see a role for yourself in that in the future?
Yes. I see myself participating because that's how a democratic society works. And I also see myself being informed. And I would also like to bring about change for a better society.
Oh boy, they're fantastic ambitions. Right. So you see yourself participating and being informed. How do you think you're going to be informed?
By things like the media, even community notice boards, things like that.
Yes, I wonder if there's a return to a more grassroots sense of community going on. This goes back to what Luke was talking about before, that it's easier to understand things we can see directly, right? And in terms of media, what sort of media do you use? Are you on YouTube all the time? Do you look at those kids who have their blogs on YouTube who are talking about things? Do you watch a lot of that kind of stuff?
No.
I should have a chat with my son. Bless him. Isha, do you have an answer to that big and profound question?
As I said before, mostly the environment, and if I become a politician, I could help that.
I think we'll just declare that we're all going to vote for you now, Isha. Okay, Isha Chaudhuri, we're all going to vote for her. Are there any questions from the floor, given that this is a lovely, kind of flexible and rather glorious panel? Has anyone up there got any questions? Because I can just proceed with the questions that have been given. How can the education system help you learn about politics? Actually, Luke, that's a really good question, isn't it? Because are you taught politics in any way, shape or form at primary school?
Well, we do like a little, because I remember that it might sound a bit funny, but we're reading a book on how to make money and how to be rich.
Right. And how do you make money and be rich?
Well, we haven't finished it yet. And because when I was little, I just thought well, you get a job, you work hard at it, you get money, you get rich. But when we were reading this book, I realized that you can't just work and get money and then be rich. You've got to pay for a house, buy food. If you're going to have a family, you need to support your family. And it's actually a lot harder, and that's why we have a lot of people in poverty.
So you're aware of this, and this comes back to the point that Mia was making before, that there are a lot of poor people in our country now. And what I'm surprised by almost always is how many of those poor people actually have jobs. I mean, I went out recently and did a story about a whole lot of people who are what we call the working poor. And so they do everything. They go to work, they have a job, they get paid, but they still don't quite have enough money to get by. And are you aware of that stuff?
Not really, because I haven't really heard much about that, So, yeah.
Is anyone here aware of that? Mia, you're obviously aware of it because you were talking about it before. Are you guys aware of how difficult it is now in Auckland, for example, to buy a home? Is that something that you've all registered? And what's the response to that? Louis, you gave me a good nod then. What's the response to that, do you think?
Yes, house prices are going up. I think we should try to lower the prices down, although at the moment it seems rather impossible.
Yeah, man, that's hard to manage, isn't it? Do you Are you aware of the kind of economic reality that are faced, by lots of people who are struggling to get by? Is that something you've registered, Mia?
Yeah, because not just house prices, but like things like good food and like free range food. I don't know really why they're so expensive, more expensive than caged animals.
It's about intensity. So if you have caged animals, you have a lot of animals in a small place, so you can farm a lot more cheaply. And so whereas if you have free range, obviously you need much more room, so it's much more expensive to farm like that. But do you think that's good? Do you think that's money well spent? Do you think that's worth doing?
Yeah, because they deserve a life too, instead of living in a tiny cage.
Gosh, you're lovely, ethical kids. Yeah, absolutely delightful children. Frank Sargison, who was a New Zealand writer, beautiful New Zealand writer, he said, children know things, but when they grow up, they forget them. And you're reminding us of what we all knew, that we forget. We forget for all the wrong reasons too. Kenya, I'm going to ask you a question about education. Do you feel like your education, and we're not having a go at your school, which is Auckland Normal, right? We're not having a go at Auckland Normal, which I'm sure is a fantastic school, but do you feel like it's preparing you enough for the world to understand the world and participate in it and change it?
Not really, because we focused more on things like getting better at math or reading, instead of actually teaching us how to buy a house, how to vote, how to actually get on with your life, I guess.
I'm a bit struck by this. Everyone in the room who's got kids, I'm a bit struck by the fact that the syllabus is fundamentally, other than the addition of Chinese and a couple of new languages, is fundamentally bugger all difference between when I was at school. I mean, they still come home with endless maths and I don't know, I just feel like actually the paradigm needs to be broadened in accordance with what the world these kids are facing, I think. Do you get a bit bored of the same old nonsense, Louis?
Yes.
Yeah, I did too when I was at school. Yeah, I get bored with my kids' homework. Man, alive. Right, let's read the third question here. How are we going for time? I have no idea what the time is. Oh, okay, great. Right, well, we'll whistle through the third question. I hope I haven't been depressing. I hope because obviously if we look at you, you are 5 really fine, bright, engaged kids with a real sense of possibility in your eyes and big hearts and big brains. So I think you're going to change the world for the better. I want to put that on the record. I'm delighted that there are kids like you growing up and going to shape our New Zealand. How do you see the media's role? Do you think about the media at all? Can I ask a question? Do any of you want to be journalists or work in the media when you grow up? Have you thought about that at all? Are you thinking about that, young Luke?
Yeah, I kind of want to be in the media because, and I over these last few days, I've started to realize how much we rely on the media, because it's not just the newspaper; it's also social media, and I was thinking, I think it's more people are on social media because they have a say. Because I remember if you watch a YouTube video or whatever and you just scroll down, you can just reply or comment immediately. So if somebody has something about people's rights and their the right to say what they want to say, you can just immediately comment on it,
So you like the idea of being able to participate, respond immediately.
Yeah.
And what we call traditional media, like television and radio, that I've always worked in, that's much harder to do that, right, isn't it? Much harder to sort of respond and comment and feel that you're being heard.
Yeah, and it's I know everybody wants their right to say what they think, and I think we need more kind of I think we need the views of everybody and what they want to change and what's happening. Yeah.
So more democratic and inclusive media with more voices in it. right? Not paternalistic. You won't even know what that word means, but that's when you get a small number of voices telling you how the world is, as opposed to lots of voices. Okay, now we're almost going to finish. What I'd like to do is get a little final comment. And in a way, what I'd like you to do, if possible, is instruct us on what you'd like us to do. Is that too much to ask? So pretend you're in charge, right? You've taken over running things, but unfortunately we still have the jobs that we have, and so you're allowed to say, hey, do this, old people. So, Kenya, I'm going to come down. What would you like us to do? What would you like these people in this room who are all here today because they're thinking about this stuff and because they think this stuff is important? The session's called Future Focus. So what would you like these people who shape the way we hear things in this country, some of them, what would you like them to do for the future?
Like, shape the world so that it's, like, more recent and more current, like, systems and things so that this generation can, like, understand it because, yeah, I don't know.
No, I know exactly what you mean. So talk to you about your future in ways you understand and can participate in, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's really good advice. Mia, what would you like us to do?
Maybe be more open-minded, like about different people. Like not everyone is the same. And that maybe if you see a piece of rubbish, you could pick it up and try to help the world.
Okay, when you're saying not everyone's the same with people being open-minded, are you talking about the kind of portrayal of Māori people again? Is that something? Do you feel that there's still a bit of racism about Māori?
Yeah, sort of. Like someone will do something bad and then that people like think that everyone does that.
It's funny, yes, I agree. When you do something bad, if you're a Māori person, people always say you're a Māori, right? Whereas if I do something bad, no one says, that Pākehā man did something bad. So it's completely different, isn't it? It's a terrible double standard. Right, that needs to stop and we need to pick up the rubbish. I think that's fantastic advice. I promise to do both things, okay? You have my word. Young Louis, what would you like us to do?
Maybe take better care of animals and not just small, tame house pets, but things like seagulls, for instance. They're around.
So look after the environment and the other creatures in the world, not just ourselves.
Yes.
You know, Kenya will be very grateful you said that. She'll really appreciate that. Isha, what would you like us to do? What would you like? Because these people in this room help create the message of our country, help tell us help create how we see ourselves. So what would you like them to do?
Maybe not to litter or think about what they're doing before they do something or think about something.
That's a very good point. Now everything's happening so fast. We turn around things so fast, don't we? And we don't think about the consequences sometimes of our actions. I hope you become a politician and a scientist. I think you'll be a fantastic one, a truly ethical one. Luke, you get the last word, young man. I gave the last word because I like your jacket. What would you say to these? Look around, see these people here are really thinking about the way that our world is described, the way it's perceived. What would you like them to do?
Well, we need to get the word out, to stop cutting down trees, because I just don't get it, because people may not, some people may not know this, but we actually rely on trees. They're what we live off, pretty much, because if we don't have food, yeah, if we don't have water, then yeah, but if we don't have oxygen, it's
yeah.
I don't...
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think one of the things you're all saying is that we have to start behaving to protect a world that we, actually, older people like me, won't get to see, won't be part of. That's your world. And we have to start thinking about people other than ourselves, right? We have to start thinking about the future. We have to start thinking about New Zealand in 2030 and 2060 and 2090. Right? Okay, well, look, you guys have been fantastic. What I love is your ethics, your sense of priorities. They seem really decent and informed and good and big-hearted to me. And I love your intelligence and the way you thought about the subject and your engagement, and I really look forward to being an old man in the world you're running, in the country you're running. And Isha, this moment I see your name on a card, I'm going to vote for you. Okay? So I really look forward to it. So Kenya and Mia and Louis and Isha and Luke, thank you so much for coming and talking to us this morning and sharing your vision about what we have to do to get New Zealand right in 2030. Thank you very much indeed, you guys. It's fantastic.